Okay, and with Daniel for the weekend pod, United won Fulham 2. What a nightmare. I don't know how you feel about this, Daniel, but I thought we had a month or so of kind of hope, and this managed to crush it.
The hope was always with reservations, I think, that yes, it's better and that is good, and we should be able to be a good team. But should it take every last player of your first 11 available for it to look even a bit like a football team, and for it still to have massive problems even then? And the answer feels like, fuck no.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's two things. It's the massive drop-off in quality, but also the same old sort of tactical problems, I think. And I don't know, pick another sort of manager of a leading club. How many of them change their style so much, based on the players available to them? So, I mean, Klopp definitely doesn't. Guardiola definitely doesn't. Postecoglou definitely doesn't. Who was he? I mean, Tuchel at Bayern does, but he's getting fired. So it feels like Erik is a standout in that respect. Yeah,
he is, but there's a but. So I'm happy to allow him the but. How can you play the football he wants to play when your back four is Maguire, Lindelof, Dalot, and Varane?
Yeah.
So I'm happy to allow him that, except he didn't have to pick that back four. He chose to. And obviously it wasn't going to be good, whoever it was. But by putting Lindelof at left back, you're pretty much saying we're going to forget mainly about the left-hand side. We're not going to try and build attacks down that side. And I know that he didn't have many good choices. He could have gone Camberwala at right back and then played Dalot at left back. I think what I probably would have done, he could have gone Amrabat left back, Dalot right back, and kept the two centre backs. I mean, I would probably have gone Amrabat right back to try and keep some width, and then gone Dalot left back, probably that. But I definitely would not have gone Lindelof at left back, because we've seen what's happened.
What a disaster
when that happens. And then when I saw the team, I thought, well, obviously it'll be Forson down the middle, because obviously he's not. I mean, I haven't seen anything from Forson that makes me think he's a United player. I think he looks lovely on the ball, but he looks like a football player. But I haven't seen anything that makes me think he's United quality. So he plays, and I'm assuming, well, he'll be down the middle, because why would you not play him? Why would you change the rest? It's working. And then when he's swapped Rashford into the middle, he's put a child on the right wing with no form whatsoever, no record of doing anything, and Garnacho back to the left. And then you're thinking, well, why? If you're going to play one winger who is an actual proper winger, Garnacho, because you're going to play Rashford in the middle, why don't you leave him where he is with the fullback with whom he's built a relationship? Because if you stick him over to the left with Lindelof, you're denying him the ball. Because who's going to help get it to him? And if you're already making changes, forced changes, why are you imposing more changes? And I saw the team and I thought, do you understand why we've been good recently? And obviously good is quite strong, but you know what I mean, better. One of the reasons is balance. It's that Shaw gives you balance on the left and Garnacho gives you on the right. And then you lose the balance with Shaw, so you play Lindelof, and then you take the balance away on the other side as well by playing a left footer there.
I think it's more, I mean, all of that is absolutely true. And he unbalanced the entire team by making those changes. And it seems really weird. But there's just something more fundamental at play, which he'd never worked out all season. And we thought maybe it would be the return of Casemiro that would fix it. And it hasn't. And that is like this big donut in midfield where they have the high press, not a well-coordinated press by the standards of sort of modern football. And then a low defensive block, because they have to play in a low defensive block if you've got Varane and Maguire in the team, and just acres of space between the two, which is why United give up a number of shots. And we talked about it on the last pod. It was like 16, 20, 23, 23, 21. Now I think it was 16 yesterday.
The teams that aren't good.
Now they're not good. But I was looking at the data on this one. United, amongst the top 5 leagues, are one of the worst. And I'm not just in the Premier League, amongst all 100 teams in the top 5 leagues, one of the worst for deep ball progressions against and shots in own box, right? teams are able to get through us into deep areas and take a shot in good positions to score over and over and over again. That is season long. And you can't play like that and not lose games. And it feels like, aside from an hour against Wolves, when they actually did have control before it went totally chaotic, we perhaps rode some luck. And maybe that good form with reservations was actually just managed to score some goals because they had some attacking balance. And that wasn't going to last. But there was so disappointing yesterday. And for the first time, it really triggered something in my brain going, I just don't think this is fixable. And I just can't see him fixing it.
Yeah, I agree. I would say, first of all, with regard to Fulham, let's not forget they were without Palhinha, Willian, and Raul Jimenez. Like three starters. And Palhinha, their best player by miles, wasn't there.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing Fulham stride through our midfield, like one or two passes. And we saw it, as you said, in that first game against Wolves. And part of the problem is the problem that you touched on just before, where you're talking about a low block. So we're pressing high, but we're blocking low. That's a lot of space vertically.
So much.
For your team that doesn't have elite athletes to cover.
In midfield.
And I think that might be one reason. I remember me and the mate I was with at Luton was saying, like, Luton had much pressure at the end. And I think part of it is because the amount of running our players are having to do, because they're having to play a short passing style, which requires a lot of running. But then they're also, midfield's empty, so they're running through midfield, back through midfield again. And the pitch that they're tasked to cover is significantly larger than that a lot of the opposition are. And I feel like that maybe is one of the reasons they always look leggy. I mean, they started leggy. They haven't played in a week. And I think we said last time, starts had actually been quite good recently, but it felt like the start yesterday, first 25 minutes were dreadful. And the kind of thing we've seen a lot of this season. And then I thought it improved a little bit just before half time. But I mean, and I think one thing that is worth mentioning in the first half is Maguire, who, by the way, I would not be picking. I'd be picking Evans at the moment. He manages to get himself booked. And the reason he manages to get himself booked is through his classic overcompensation after lumbering. He lumbers into a challenge. He knows really that he's not getting the ball, but he's sort of put in some of the effort, I guess.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel like I might as well try and get the ball then. He stamps on someone's ankle.
Yeah.
It's an orange card, I think. Like it's
It
not,
really
I don't
is.
think it's a red. I saw Sky compare it to the Gilmore one, which was much higher. It wasn't.
Yeah. It was
like
quite low.
And
And
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. You shouldn't be sent off. I don't think, for mistiming a tackle like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good tackle. And what happens is he gets his obligatory card, and who knows if that's what comes back to bite us in the arse at the end.
Well, because he would have taken one for the team otherwise. Yeah. I mean, I have to say,
self-importance.
I found it legitimately funny how much he got roasted there, Harry. I mean, it was just like, you watch him and he's like in slow motion as the Dharma Traore just absolutely. Yeah. It's just
kick him up in the air. He's a Dharma Traore. You're not going to catch him. He might waste it. And then part of me is thinking, hang on, is he in his mind as this happens, having this conversation? Right, but if I kick him, then I'm not going to play in the midweek. Oh, no.
And he was having that conversation, yeah.
Because otherwise you would have done it. Right? If he's booked, he boots him. And he's trying to weigh up in a split second, do I think he's going to score versus I'm going to miss the next game? And, I mean, maybe that's a decision motivated by misplaced loyalty to the team. Or maybe it's decision motivated by misplaced loyalty to himself. I mean, who knows what goes through his cavernous Swede during that very small period of time. But kick him! I couldn't believe what I was seeing, that you allow that at that point.
And then the goal scorer said he did Onana with the eyes, but Onana has.
Like Pedro Neto did.
Yeah, but it's been
exactly
well documented. He takes a step towards the side he thinks the shot's going to go to, and he does it too early, and he can't rebalance himself. And it's been well Alanized, Shearer, that he makes that mistake, and it's a kind of fundamental error in his game, and I think forwards, because he said, I knew basically when questioned. So
didn't Paul do have a hashtag called Alansis many
Yes.
years ago, where even
Yes,
the
yeah.
nicest man in the world was so agitated by Alan Shearer's
Yes.
lack of effort that he constructed an entire thread of total bullshit. That he was. I saw this with Joe Cole actually in the week. I was watching Inter, and Joe Cole goes, "Well, I've not really seen much of Inter this season." I'm sorry. So why are you here? And I actually think that Joe Cole's quite a good pundit, but just in brief parentheses, that was a real. Why are you here then?
To be fair to Alan Shearer, I think he took that criticism to heart. Not our personal criticism. I think
agree.
the general.
I agree. He's much better.
And has done a lot of work. Yeah. You look at as an aside, how much some of the top commentators, how much effort and research they put into it. Derek Gray produced it. Well, Clive Tilsley sells his team sheets he's done, which are quite good. I think I sent one to Paul from the '99 final. But Derek Gray, who does the comms on German football for ESPN, very good. He does incredible amount of research into every player, writes it all down by hand, so to commit it to memory. And I think the pundits that do that and don't just fall back to kind of lazy stuff, or I haven't seen much of them, or at the AFCON, well, yeah, they're all good athletes, aren't they? And bullshit like that.
Yeah, it's got much better because we have much greater diversity and people understand what's going on. But back to Maguire, if I just quickly, I feel like, and maybe this is just me, but it feels a bit like he's forever overcompensating, trying to be the defender he wants to be, that maybe his PR said he was after that World Cup, this big, dominating, reliable, over my dead body, brave defender. And it leads often to him overcomplicating things and asking of himself things that he cannot do. And even when, I know he scored, but even just watching him hurling himself about in their box, trying to be that guy. And obviously it worked out on this occasion, but not before he'd missed one that he shouldn't have missed.
Yeah.
But it's just, in every game, there are these offences. And I mean, he's not the only one. Like Dalot and was it Eriksson, who just get completely done by Iwobi, just one step inside and he's gone. But
and Varane watching the ball,
and it felt like we were sort of almost playing a bit better at that point. Like Bruno sort of started to play in injury time, and I guess we'll come to him. But the Onana one was very similar to the Pedro Neto one, where in general that shot is very hard to save. I mean, we saw Ole score them for years, and he taught it to Rooney. I don't think he could have saved either of them, but I'd like to have seen him try. Come on.
So please check yourself about. Do one for the cameras, yeah. I mean, United, because of that Harry Maguire chance and the Eriksson chance as well, out XG Fulham, but I really just don't. It just doesn't really tell the truth because that's 1.5 XG of United's 1.9. Those two chances, and it just the tactical mess, the fact that we were so open, the fact that we were completely wasteful up front, and it wasn't very cohesive, and then the defensive errors. And the goalkeeper who's decided to no longer have an attempt at saving anything. Just you can't throw all of that into the mix and not lose games. I mean, it's just inevitable.
And what you said earlier about, we've won some tight ones. So I think there's part of it that, maybe this is a regression to the mean, except it felt like the games that we've won, we won them because we were the better team, and some of them by far, we were much better than Luton. Whatever, we sat back and made it difficult. But the level that we hit the first 20 minutes against Luton was miles in excess of anything they did, and the game should have been over. Wolves, we were miles better than Wolves. Almost fucked it up, but we were a lot better than them. Villa, we bossed it for 20, and then we saw what happened afterwards. But it felt like this was a very different game to the ones that we've won in terms of the level that we hit in it and the balance of it. And the thing is where we have all this stuff about our inability to do all the things with all the players. Fulham have these players also who are who they are. Like, why is Andreas Pereira carrying the ball through midfield, for example? Alex Iwobi is a good ball carrier, but Andreas Pereira's doing it. So why are our players not able to do it? What is it about the setup, and maybe it's just we're too stratified, where the gaps between everyone too big. I don't know, but then also if you're going to play long ball, then maybe I liked the selection of Forsum. I thought it showed a bit of imagination. As I said, I thought it was going to keep the good bits of the team the same. Didn't work out like that. I hated his performance though. I'm not going to get too hot on getting after a kid who's just made his United debut, but there was a total lack of energy, zest, devil, intensity about the way he went about his work.
He's not that kind of player, though. Yeah, I did think I've liked what I've seen of him, and I wouldn't profess to see every sort of under 23s and under 18s game. But what struck me about Forsum is he's the kind of tippy tappy, play wall passes and move the ball around, much more like Sancho stylistically than his other wide players. So it seemed like, given the way we were playing low block, quick transitions, that kind of thing in recent games, that wasn't a easy stylistic fit, but clearly he's been training with the first team for some considerable time now. So Erik must believes in him more than Ahmad or
there's also
Anthony,
he's got a contract.
For example.
He's got a contract situation, doesn't he, as well?
He's out of contract in the summer, yeah.
So maybe they're trying to get him to sign so that he doesn't leave for free. Maybe that's part of it. But if I struggle to see how that conversation would have happened. Has someone actually gone to the manager and said, you have to pick this guy, not that guy? Or if it's a choice, maybe pick this one, not that one? Just seems unlikely.
No, I'm sure that's not happening. But I mean, it may well be in the back of the manager's mind that he wants to keep him. He believes in him in some way. I mean, it's not like Ahmad has convinced him. Clearly he hasn't. He's not getting any minutes at all. I mean, he had that. He had a game against Forest in the Cup, didn't he? The League Cup.
He came on against Forest in the league and actually
in the league,
okay. And he looked okay when he came on yesterday. I guess Forsum's ahead of him, or perceived to have a greater chance of United's future, maybe. I mean, Anthony, has he just given up on him now? Or
hopefully,
has Uncle Big Sir Jim come in and said,
yeah.
No.
I mean, it doesn't half. Given this result, I think it's very easy to be knee jerk about it and freak out clearly, and Twitter sphere kind of lends to that. But new management team in place, new CEO, director of football's coming in once they finish the negotiations. Big Sir Jim seems very hands on for the moment. He did all the press last week. Brailsford's at every single game right now, and the one thing Ratcliffe did, and it's kind of. I thought it was kind of funny how well briefed he clearly is, because he gave the same answers in every single Dan Brown's, the written press, the other broadcast press. But anyway, one thing he was very clear about is style first. They can decide that as a team. Manager fits into that. So that's really a big red flag for Erik Ten Hag already. If you don't take 10 losses in the league and all of them in the Champions League out of the equation, and clearly you're going to think about that too. So is the style that Erik Ten Hag wants to play the one that fits with what the INEOS team believe that they think should happen at United, right? Because if it's not, he's gone anyway. And then you come to performance, and has he done enough to earn more time at the club? And that's a big question as well. And all these questions are going to be asked right now. And yesterday was pretty disappointing, or you left feeling pretty despondent, because you're like, I mean, there's no wiggle room now for Ten Hag. And let alone for United as a club now, I'm just looking at it, 8 points behind Villa in fourth place, because fifth is definitely not guaranteed Champions League football next season, given quite how poor the Premier League's results have been in the Champions League, including our own and Newcastle's. And then Arsenal lost the other night as well.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, you talk about where we're going to be next season, and that is kind of the question, isn't it, really? Because we don't know what's going to happen with Ten Hag, but what we do know is that Bayern, Liverpool and Barcelona all want managers. And not only that, they can talk to them.
Yeah.
Because they know that their current guys are. Now, it seems unlikely, if you look at who the main guys are, it seems unlikely that Xabi Alonso is going to go to not Bayern or Liverpool. So then you're left with Thiago Motta, Ruben Amorim, who? And I don't think the idea that we don't know if any of these guys will be any good is a reason to keep Ten Hag particularly, but I don't have many others in that. I think there are two things here. That we've got the situation of, are we saying that the only players that can perform his instructions are those 11 that are in his first team, or they could the only ones that can understand them? Because it feels like as soon as he doesn't have that, he changes the approach completely. And you alluded to this before. And obviously, we're not good enough to just go and play how we want to play in every game. But it feels like against Fulham at home, we should be. And we still, and it feels like we still come down again to that dichotomy between it shouldn't be this bad, but look at the fucking players. How could it not be this bad?
Well, I look at his squad and I often think, like, clearly we know a lot of these players and many of them are not good enough to be at United. But you look at the squad and it's £1 billion squad and they've got one of the highest wage bills in world football. And you can't help but think, surely this is good enough to be in the top 4 best teams in the country, surely. And it's most definitely better than the team Fulham put out yesterday. And so something's going desperately wrong there. And like, of course, if they're doing root and branch analysis of the club, which they are clearly doing, because Sir Jim was very clear in all his interviews this week that he considers the last 11 years to be a complete failure. And he's looking at Liverpool and City as the benchmarks of where United need to be. Which, it's a bit of pills to swallow as a United fan.
I'm not having that. There's no purge. Liverpool are not on any fucking purge anymore. They're not on a purge. Wherever they might be is not on a purge.
I was thinking that when he said that, I was like, hang on, 1 Premier League title in the 9 years that Klopp's been at Liverpool or whatever it is. Yeah, it's not much of a purge, but yeah. Certainly been, generally speaking, better than United, say, for a couple of seasons. And anyway, look, the point being, they are being meticulous about the analysis of the club. He said very, very clearly that they're going to get the structure around the manager and the results will fall out the bottom, quote unquote. And it's about getting it right top down and then going with the manager. And the manager has to fit into the style they deem appropriate for a club like United, right? And all of that should be a big, big, big red flag to Ten Hag. And that's aside from all the results, which are crap.
That's right. Who is they? So I've got a question here. So Jim Ratcliffe doesn't know anything about football.
Yeah.
In that way. Barada, is he your guy who's picking your style? Is he a football guy? Is Daniel Ashworth? Sorry. Is he a football guy who's going to be right? This is who actually are the football brains that are taking this view?
Yeah, well, clearly Brailsford is looking at the analysis. I don't think he's going to be picking the manager. And they've kind of talked about this in some of the interviews. And they talked about the mistakes they made at Nice as well. And they made a lot of mistakes at Nice. And it's better this season, although they've just lost 4 in the last 5. Maybe. So, yes, I think it's going to be Barada, who's at City for 12 years, but obviously in mostly commercial and marketing and then operational roles. Ashworth, who's obviously been around football for a very long time, although if he picks that twat Potter to be United, he's going to get eaten up within a few months, isn't he? Whoever's coming on the technical director side, it looks like it's Wilcox. Who knows whether that's really true? And they'll bring some transfer people in. Now, I assume they'll form some kind of committee to make the right kind of decision. But as you were saying, like, not only is it hyper competitive amongst leading clubs, I mean, it's unusual for Barcelona, Bayern, and Liverpool, and probably United all looking for managers. And so it doesn't half make you think, well, United probably need to act quickly here, but they can't because they haven't made the decision to fire Ten Hag yet. And if it's based on getting into the Champions League or not, I'm not saying it is, but it might be. Then they may well be waiting till the end of the season while Bayern, Barcelona, and Liverpool plan. So does that mean we get the 4th best available this summer? And it has to be the 4th best that fits into the style they've deemed, and we're not sure what that is yet. So
right, exactly. Like it has to be there's someone. So are we saying it's going to be someone who needs to be a good manager for this squad, or the manager for the squad that you want to have? But even before we do this, we're still kind of looking at Ten Hag. And I think my problem with him is started off as a problem I had from the outset, the lack of charisma. That in order to play Manchester United football, I think probably requires someone who can inspire have moved the players. He may have done what he did at Ajax, winning the league there, playing Ajax football with the best team and the most money is not the same thing. You don't need to be aggressive, I don't think, in the same way, fired up in the same way. And the kind of football that we want to see, I think, does require that. So that's a problem I had with Ten Hag from the beginning. But a problem I have with him from now is I feel like there's a lack of clarity in him saying we're going to play like this and playing like that. But also, what if his way of playing is crap? And what we've seen so far, it is at best not clear whether the way that he wants to play is going to work in Borough League. And currently it works sometimes, but it doesn't work other times. And yesterday was a classic one of those games where it looked like we were just assuming or hoping that one of the quality players was going to do something. And that will work sometimes. And that's the manager. Kind of felt like that was his approach. But both for the players, the way that they played in injury time and after they scored, you're kind of thinking, what happened to you before this? Do you guys think that you're good enough to play within yourselves and win games? No way you think that, but maybe they do. And but back to exactly like what we really need is we need someone to take us through Ten Hag's method. Like we Ten Hag to say, this is how I want to play. Like, because if they were to go to him and say, listen, we will back you, but it's all on you now. But you have to tell us what you want and what it is. So that may happen behind closed doors, but until we know, like if you money no object or whatever, what do you want your team to look like?
Yeah.
And what he's done with and to this team is still not clear. And then who's going to be the person evaluating whether what he wants to do works or not? And it has to be, feels like it has to be quite precise because what he does just completely differs from like how many, like he's used all these different centre-back pairings and part of that's to do with injury, but not all of it's to do with injury. If you want to play possession football, then maybe play Johnny Evans. But then I think that he is a better passer than Varane. He is a better passer than Varane, but I mean, you have to play Varane because he can actually defend. He's a better passer than Maguire, more composed than Maguire as well. And he should think.
What's the evidence that he wants to play possession football? Like, I think he gave up on that idea when he bought Casemiro and not Frankie de Jong. And I say when the club. It's clear now, in retrospect, they could never have done the deal for Frankie de Jong. De Jong didn't want to move, even if Barcelona were willing to sell. And he brought Casemiro in, completely different profile of player. And we've never seen it ever since. And certainly not this season. I mean, United are miles off in terms of possession dominance than Ajax were under Ten Hag. He said it. He said it at the beginning of the season. World class in transitions. The problem he's had is he wants low block, high press, and transitions, and it all doesn't fit together.
Right. And so then again, like we come back to it, like where are you going with the team? And apparently, like when he got the job, he gave some whole breakdown about what he wanted. And then a couple of bad results, did he just say, that's not workable here, it's not workable ever? We sort of know what he wants, but we know what he wants in an ideal sense, which he can't, but we don't know exactly, I guess, what he wants in this current English Premier League. And
yeah. Well, he also said, if you remember at the beginning of the season when asked about the Ajax style, he said, no, not with this squad, right? So, like, what we know is what he thinks he can't do. And we may have a sense of what he maybe wants, but there's no actual evidence for it. So we're more left with this kind of notion that perhaps once upon a time he wanted a possession dominant side, doesn't want it now. So we're saying that our goal, which is the stated goal of the new management team to get back to the top of European and English football, is to play in a reactive style. It's been quite a long time since a reactive manager won the Premier League, you know?
And also, if you think about that reactive side, like Mourinho's Chelsea, let's say, they were reactive in the big games. They weren't fucking reactive against Fulham at home.
No, not at all. It's got 100 goals.
They were ball dominant. They were ball dominant when they were playing the teams that they thought they could deal with, they were ball dominant in all those games.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing United play like the inferior team against teams to whom they're superior to use their superior counter-attackers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe that's what he feels he's got to do to get into the top four and to keep his job. But I think that if we lose another one, if we lose Derby and City and Villa and Tottenham win, then it feels like the only way he's got to keep his job is say, right, I'm only picking players that are going to be here next season now, and try and generate some momentum and some positivity that way.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if it would do it. I mean, it is so tight now in terms of, like I think 8 points in, is it 11 games left or 12? And within that, we've got to play Liverpool, Arsenal and City. It's not to say we'll lose all of those, but clearly, we don't exactly have the best record against the larger sides under Ten Hag. Although some of those are at home, aren't they? But it's almost, you're almost saying they probably have to win the other 8. Let's say.
I mean, the home record in the big games against Ten Hag so far isn't bad, but it's probably because we haven't played anyone good at home yet this season, and last season wasn't bad. The Arsenal and Liverpool and City at home last season. Yeah,
and then you're coming back to the point before about the coefficients, and if we're saying it's probably too difficult to make 8 points up on Villa, I mean, it's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? That we've just beaten these twats twice in the last couple of months, and we're still 8 points behind Villa, Aston Villa. So this, it's like, or if I was putting money on it, which I haven't, but maybe I should, I would say it's very small odds that Ten Hag is at the club next season. But then it comes back to if that's going to be the calculation, and there are some, smart people coming into the club now, and they're moving very aggressively in INEOS, why would they delay this decision? And they probably will be using back channels to assess who's the right manager, who's the best available manager that fits the style that they want to play.
I guess
and we're not sure what that is yet.
Right. I guess you wait with Ten Hag. If you get rid of him, I guess you're probably waiting to see what happens in the Champions League, because you wouldn't want the other two teams to blow up and you end up not making the Champions League because you fired the manager. But no Shaw and Martinez until April feels like that is too much. And again, I always come back to this with Ten Hag. The change takes time. If you look at Klopp, you look at Arteta, steps forward, steps backwards. Did less well than he did in the first season, and I think the second season. Arsenal finished 8th.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue that does Ten Hag have better players than they did?
I think he's further along than Liverpool were. Yeah. I mean, the thing with Klopp is that now, in retrospect, we can kind of look back and see what he did in his first 2 seasons. The first 2 seasons weren't very good. I think he finished like 7th and 8th and 7th or something like that. But he had a style he wanted to play, and he did adapt it because he was going for the German style, mid-block, transitional football, and it didn't work. Like, teams were able to play, sit very deep, and there's nothing for them to react against or play around them. And so the results weren't good. And he adapted it to, some kind of hybrid between that style and more sort of, English style, or the high press really came in, didn't it? But he was smart enough, but you could kind of see the direction it traveled. And this is where, like, I come back to time and again with Ten Hag. I don't know what the direction of travel is at all. It's almost like we've given up on this season. This is a season where we're just trying to deal with the injuries, which, by the way, like, we're not, and I assume this is part of the analysis too, may well be on him anyway, the amount of muscle injuries we're getting.
So
now, not the impact injuries, but, so it's not like the whispers haven't been there about the training load.
No, I agree. I mean, that feels like, it's sort of Ten Hag's fault because he carries the can, but also you're employing people that should be expert in this. And they should know. Like, Ten Hag can't be expected to know about that, but the people who he's appointing should be good.
And they will do, because it's the periodization, like, methodology around training. They will have, like, red, green, amber zone on game and training load for every single player, and they'll adjust individual training sessions as a result. So and now the sports science team and department medical team, which they're completely revamping, of course, are they saying, yeah, he's close to the edge and Ten Hag's going for it anyway? You know, and when Højlund got injured in training in midweek and a small muscle injury, he said, well, the intensity
Does that mean you've
we have
injured
to
his
play
dick?
at.
Sorry, a small muscle injury.
Oh, jeez. Hey, how do you know? It might be a big one.
Right, but I'm sure it is, but compared to the rest of him.
True. So he said the intensity with which we have to play, and he's kind of like he's alluding to what a lot of people have been saying about the training at United is very intense, and that's part of it's part of what he wants. He wants a very fit squad that can perform to the sort of levels of intense high pressing that he wants. Except we're not really seeing that a lot of the time, are we?
No, and I mean,
so,
you talk
a lot of
about
contradictions.
Yeah, the loads. You would think that the performances we're seeing out of Bruno Fernandes are partly to do with how hard he's had to work in the last few years. I mean, I feel for him. I mean, I know a lot of United fans have enough of him. For me, I just see a guy who's given everything for the last 3 seasons, and it might just be passing him by. His career, like we might have seen the best of him, but also he might have seen the best of himself. For what?
Maybe he's still creating. He's still the leading shot creator. Shot creating actions. That's what it's called in the Opta database. He's still the leader in the Premier League this season, right? So he's still creating a lot of chances or shots. Not always high quality with United, but he's still creating something. But yeah, I would agree that his performance levels have. He's not scoring, and the performance levels overall are not of the highest caliber. But of course, that's set in the context of it being a crap team as well. I don't really pay much attention to. I mean, although I am way too online and on Twitter far too much, I don't pay attention to like the general noise around that, because there's a lot of idiots that are just like Bruno's crap, Rashford's crap. List 12 players they want to bin off as if that's how you play football or build a squad. You can just like bin off 20 players in a summer and bring in 20 new ones. So I don't know whether we should pay attention to that. But clearly, I mean, if a new manager comes in and if the style is of whatever format, which Sir Jim didn't say, but if it is a possession dominant style and they go for a possession dominant manager, then there will be a question about Bruno, because I don't know whether you can play Bruno in that possession dominant style and have him create all those chances. You can play him at 8 and go, hey, we've got an 8 now, and Bruno, you're not that creative player anymore. Or you get 2 really physical players in central midfield, and then you can do it like that.
So yeah, I mean, I think that would be my approach probably. I don't think that Bruno necessarily can't have him in this kind of team. You just need to build around that. I think that if we're saying he's going to be a number 8, part of me is like, probably get someone better.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely brilliant in a team that functions around him as a number 10. Of course, like during his time at United, he's so rarely had a team that functions around.
And he was so good for Ole in a team that was actually that really good transition team that Ten Hag's trying to make United now.
Ollie hasn't got a job, and he's waiting there. So Andy in says
he's your vibes guy.
Jobs down. So,
he's your vibes guy. You get rid of Ten Hag because you're getting someone new, and then you bring Ole in
and give it Ollie till the end of the season
for the snaffle the FA Cup.
Yeah, maybe.
Ollie gets his trophy, and then we get our new manager, and everyone's happy.
I don't know whether the logic stacks up or not, but the vibes do. And, I wouldn't mind it just for the vibes and just see Ollie again. So, I mean, of all the managers United have binned off in the last, since Fergie went, the last 11 years or whatever, he's the only one I was a bit sad about. And he had to go because it was so disastrous at the time.
And yeah, with that midfield.
4-1 at Watford. Yeah.
But I get that there was also pandemic football, but he got, with a terrible midfield, he had us scoring loads of goals and smashing crap teams, and Ten Hag hasn't done that. And I don't know. I mean, it's mad, really, that on the day he scores United's only goal, I still think yet less of Harry Maguire today than I did yesterday, even though he scored United's only goal. It's really, but it doesn't. I mean, Arteta nearly got fired, where he went to the young players as a last resort after they'd lost, and their form was way worse than this. I guess the difference again might just be that this is a better team than that team that he had, so it should be doing better. And what would it look like if you brought another manager in who with this squad? Would they be able to play out from the back?
I mean, I think if you let's just say they want a possession dominant style, and look, by the way, if you look at the odds for the next United manager, they're all over the place, right? In terms of style of manager, so you can start naming names, but that's what United have done for the last 10 years. They've gone for the big name manager, who's the best at the time,
or who was the best previously.
So Jim has said this. He said this was wrong. I mean, he's clearly been briefed by his team, because I'm not going to pretend a private equity guy who's built, a chemicals companies like suddenly the world expert on football. But clearly his team has said they're going between styles all of the time. We're going to pick a defined style. So is it high pressing, intense Nagelsmann? Is it high possession dominance, De Zerbi? Like, what is it? But if you have the latter, possession dominance, this squad does not fit. We know.
But we can't do the physical thing either. And so here's the problem: is because I would like the kind of United football that Uncle Big Sir Jim wants to watch is not Guardiola football. I wouldn't have thought, and it's going to need some physical presence. But when you talk about possession dominance, for me anyway, I guess I'm kind of assuming Guardiola, but Klopp's Liverpool were also possession dominant. It's just in a different way, but we don't have the players for that either. And the problem is that we have so many players you want to get rid of, but to pick one side, one way of playing or the other, you might have to get rid of some of the good ones. And when you really have to get rid of all the shit ones, then it feels like a massive task. And so I think that, and then I got that sitting over there, and I've got, if you stuck Declan Rice in this team that was at full strength, you'd see quite a good team. I mean, with everyone fit, it could be quite a good team without any additions. So I think, if you go and buy the right number 8, it doesn't have to be whoever it is, you buy the right number 8 and you buy a centre back and a full back, 3 players, whatever it is, and then it could be a really, really good team. But then I'm back on the other side, I'm like, well, it's just a really good team, so players are good.
Yep. Well, the other thing they said, was it Ratcliffe who said it? But he said 3 years, 7 windows, something like that. So they're clearly prepared to think about an amount of time.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, you look at it.
It shouldn't take that long.
You shouldn't. It probably shouldn't take that long with the quality of squad we've already got. They just need to go, hey, this is a style. These are the players that fit. These are the players we like, and the players that fit within that style. The others go. The other thing it seems to be they're doing, they're going to rebuild the transfer department and have more capacity there. I mean, they haven't fired Murtaugh yet, but I assume that's only a matter of time.
It's nuts that, not buying players because you don't have fucking capacity. What?
We didn't have time. United side.
We didn't have time to not use the money that we got from Fred on Amrabat. Like, that is one of the all. I don't want to see that guy, but what was the point? Why do we have him if he's not going to use him now? Why? What was the point of him, and why do we have him?
I can't tell you. I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, we never see him. I mean, I say we never see him. Probably see him now if I lean out my window. But it's just, that is a baffling piece of activity, that. But I'm not like, I wanted Fred to go. I thought Fred was shit. But we'd have got a lot more use out of Fred than Amrabat this season, that's for sure.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And we might have ended up not getting beat in a game like yesterday.
I mean, you talked about Rice, and look, I don't know whether that deal could have ever been done, given that he seemed to want to stay in London.
It should have been done. Like, when Ole signed Maguire, that money would have got 2 Declan Rices And I said it at the time, it didn't have to be Declan Rice. It needed to be someone for that position. And it should have. And I don't love Declan Rice as a player. I love the mentality. I love the aggression, the power. Don't love the use of the ball. But if you had him, Mainu and Bruno, if you had him, you get a lot more out of Mainu and Bruno.
And, for sure. Undoubtedly. But, just to round off my thought there, I mean, 60 million on Mason Mount, who we've never seen because he's not fit and we don't know what style of football he fits into or what Ten Hag's plan was. It doesn't appear to have been any plan. And that would have gone a long way to buying a player that would have fit better into the squad. If it wasn't Rice, someone else, right? So anyway.
So part of it is just look at it.
What a mess.
Because look at the squad and go, well, obviously, look at the players. Look at it. But you then look at what has been achieved with these players and what it actually looks like. And you think, well, nah, man, it's not just the players, it's the manager as well. And it feels, I said last week that I felt like they'd be able to get away without firing him if they didn't want to. But then once Shaw and Højlund get injured like that, I don't see that it's going to be good enough. And even though like those two things let's assume the injury has nothing to do with him. Let's say that it's not his fault. It doesn't matter because the product as a whole over the course of the season, if you take the season to this point, the season ended now was this number of games, however many games he's played. Yeah, he's gone. It's not now the situation where he almost needs to keep his job. He needs to go out and earn it again. Because if it doesn't change, he's gone.
How many games did David Moyes lose before he got sacked? Because Ten Hag has now lost 15 games across all competition, 10 in the league. When's the last United manager to lose 10 games and not get fired? I mean, did he in his early days lose that many?
Probably.
So
89, 90 and 1991. Not good. I think I would say, although there were more games then, so more ways of losing. What I would say about the way that it's, I can't remember what I was going to say now. The number of
we lost 12. 12 in the Moyes season.
So comparing Ten Hag to Moyes is a little bit different because obviously Moyes has inherited the champions and Ten Hag has inherited Rangnick's Reds. Yeah. And there was no sense that Moyes had anything, whereas Ten Hag's already won the trophy and qualified for the Champions League with Rangnick dickheads. So he's got some credit in the bank. He's achieved, whereas Moyes it was so obvious this was the wrong guy. And it's not as obvious with Ten Hag. So I don't think it's quite the same. But if the season finishes now, he goes. Well, he has the rest of this season to convince the board not to buy it. It's not. Yes, it's not the other way around. Where if we collapse, he gets fired. He might get fired. If we don't get good, he's gone.
For sure, and he's going to be hampered by the injuries. I mean, it looks like the Højlund one is short term, but Malacia and Martinez may well not be seen again. Shaw and Martinez may not be seen again, and we don't know about Malacia. But just as one indicator of how dysfunctional this club is, just look at the left back spot. You got Shaw, whose fitness cannot be relied upon. Malacia, who is not yet fit, but clearly they thought he would be. Reguilon, who they sent back to Spurs and is now
I think Brentford. I read
Alvarez, who went to Girona and then on to Benfica, and Brandon Williams, who's Ipswich all season. Right, that's 5 left backs, and we currently had none.
What of Reguilon's terminated the Spurs? I might be wrong about it. I just thought I read that they were like they called him back rather than us sending him back.
Why to ship him out to Brentford? I mean,
he's going to play
because one of the reasons why United didn't get Cucurella is because Chelsea wouldn't do the mid-season break. I mean, at least that's the press reporting. I'm not saying I know.
No, I'm certain that United thought they were going to have Malacia and Shaw, so they might have asked for the break. But I definitely read. I can't remember who was saying it, so I don't quote me. I'm not quoting someone, so don't quote me. That he went because they recalled him and sent him to Brentford, which makes sense, and that he's going to play at Brentford because Rico Henry's injured, and they might get a sale out of it. Whereas if he goes to United and only plays when the others aren't around, when you think that those two players are going to be fit again, as Spurs probably did think that in January, then it does make sense that they would say no. But yeah, no left backs. I mean,
it's yeah. And then Ten Hag picking Lindelof because why? I don't know. So all right. Let's move on. It's from this delightful stuff. Ten Hag has got another opportunity to save his job, I guess, and that's the FA Cup. United away at Forest in midweek. I don't like the FA Cup in midweek. I think it should always be played on the weekend. But there's old man Ed talking there.
So I also have that energy, but I like this one. I think this is good because I don't like it because the Cup quarterfinal was always the weekend of my birthday, and I've lost that now. And that was just, I always knew roughly not what would be going on my birthday, but yeah, like United playing the Cup quarterfinal on my birthday, or not playing also, but I like it because I like a midweek cup game with a cup allocation is good. And I know what you mean about Saturdays, but it does feel like, much as we like people, particularly those of us who grew up with the FA Cup, want it to retain its magic. It has gone a little bit stale. And I felt like definitely, I can't remember what happened last year, but the first year of that, we really got some really good games. All of them on television, played at night. And I think that's sort of necessary now. If you're playing the last day of a cup competition, really, that you want every game to be on television because that's the only way you're going to get people interested in it, is if you can engage their eyeballs. And if you're putting those games on terrestrial television on weeknights, that feels like a way of trying to get people to watch. And also as a supporter, I definitely would, like a night game, definitely better than like Saturday 12 o'clock or whatever.
Unfortunately, of course, they're moving the FA Cup to TNT Sports from next season, and so it's going to be on the channel with about 200,000 people watching it. And maybe they get a few extra pounds out of it, but
it's the cut even the final.
So no, the final has to be free to air.
It's funny actually.
It's one of the golden circle of sporting events that have to be on free to air.
Because the FA Cup is one of those events sort of been killed by the Premier League. One of those sporting events sort of been killed by the Premier League. But in some ways, it felt like the FA Cup actually begat the Premier League. Because I don't know if you remember that Sunday in 1990, where they decided, for years and years, you got the FA Cup semi-finals and no one can see it because you're only getting highlights on Match of the Day. And then they decide in 1990 they're gonna show both games on some television. They're going to move them both to the Sunday. And obviously the games are just two of the greatest semi-finals, two of the greatest football matches we've ever seen in this country. Palace beat Liverpool 4-3 and Oldham United drew 3-3. And sort of feels to me that it was a watershed moment where they're like, this is the best television program that there is. And doesn't require creativity or anything. It just not needs to sit down and come up with it. It's like it's reality TV. It just writes itself.
And I think that's one of the things that's so disappointing about putting it on the minority channel. Like the short-termism of whatever money the FA are getting for this, it's a drop in the ocean. I mean, they could have done a deal with free to air that wouldn't not have been that much different financially and would have exposed it to everyone. And it makes
much more sense, that argument in cricket, where football, people know about it and it's there. But with cricket, they did it after the 2005 Ashes, but the money that Sky put in has done loads of cricket, and we'd be stupid to pretend that it hasn't. And where would cricket be without Sky's money? Genuinely, don't know. Much as I want everything available on free to air for everyone, don't know. Football, yes, I know. So much money it's sloshing about in the game, and that's even before we say, well, hang on, why did TNT even have this money? What's even going on here? What was actually going on is BT decided to spend money that they had from a historical monopoly of telecoms. They decided to use reserve funds that they had to buy football, to sell broadband.
Yeah.
And what happens?
And then that didn't work out, so they binned off their media unit.
And in almost every industry in the world, competition is good. But when it comes to televised sport, it is bad. Because the more there are, it's not diversity, because they don't all have the same thing. They all have different things. If you want to watch it in a legal manner, in the comfort of your own home, you got to have them all.
Yeah. And the European Commission also did this, of course, because they broke up the Premier League TV rights, which made it even harder for fans to access it. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, cricket. The money has been good because, the county game doesn't drive enough money in at all. And so they needed extra income. It has made it a minority sport, which is a shame because Test cricket is like almost the highest form of civilization. Like there's almost nothing better than Test cricket, save for United beating the Scousers. We're although England are probably going to lose this next Test, we have seen an incredible series out in India in terms of the quality and the drama. We saw that with Test cricket in the summer. Anyway, I don't want to go on about cricket too often because people don't tune in for that. But yeah, it's a shame the Cup's a minority sport. We're playing Forest, and minority sport. It will only be viewed by a few people from next season. Is what I mean. We're playing Forest. Mixed back from Forest recently. They got hammered by Villa. Will they even be focused on this? Because their priority really should be not getting relegated, given that they might be getting a 10-point penalty
in a season where it's never
deduction.
been as easy to avoid relegation, perhaps.
Yeah,
two teams so shit, and Everton have been dot points. But I mean, we should beat Forest. I think that we do need to do something with the team. Like, you can't have Lindelof the left back like that again. And I think, and you need Rashford on the left, Garnacho on the right, and go from there, whether it's McTominay, Ahmad, whoever you do it, almost don't really care who it is. Just get the players that have been making this good stuff happen in the right place. I'd also get rid of Maguire and say Evans. I've had enough of Maguire. Just, even there was that bit yesterday where he does he goes down the left wing. It's like, go on then. But we should beat Forest, but we should beat most of the teams in the league. And whether we do or whether
we just lost to Forest not long ago, so I mean, we should.
That was dreadful. Yeah. That was dreadful. That Forest performance. Yeah,
we'll see. So if Lindelof is in the team at left back again, it'll be like almost a cry for help. I mean, like when Mourinho put McTominay in a back three at West Ham, you're like, you just want to get fired, don't you? Like, you look at that and go, right. You're looking for the payoff. If he does it, he deserves the sack. Honestly,
I mean, I also think someone should be saying to Ten Hag, listen, like, this is where we are. This is how it's good. You will get fired if it's crap at the end of the season. So do what you want to do, and if it looks like the right thing, we'll back you.
Well, he keeps saying, Ten Hag, he keeps insisting that he's had a lot of conversations with the new team and they're all on the same page.
I mean, I guess Uncle Big Sir Jim, though, did say that he wanted... What did he say? Can't remember what he said.
He said a lot of stuff. But they've been totally ruthless. I mean...
I remember what he said about Mason Greenwood. That I remember. That was not acceptable. What?
No, although... Reading between the lines, I'm not going to defend him because
it might have been legal.
He should have said, like reading between the lines, I think what he basically said is, look, we are not being beholden to a decision that's been made by the guy we just binned off, right? Because they fired Arnold within a microsecond of agreeing that the deal had been done. I mean, it took a while to dot the I's and cross the T's. So I think they're saying that we're going to look at it again. Of course, the only acceptable decision is for them to sell Greenwood, right? It's not like there is an acceptable way of getting him back into the team, and they will discover this. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I think they're saying they want to make their own decision and not be beholden to what.
The formulation of words. It wasn't good. It's not good. It wasn't good at all. It didn't. It made out, and maybe he's just trying to preserve value in some way. I mean,
true, of course, because if you say you're getting rid of a toxic asset, the value is going to be even lower than it's going to be.
Everyone knows that. It's just whether there's an auction.
Yeah. And he's not even he's doing okay at Getafe. They're playing him out on the wing. It's probably not his best position, even though they had an injury up front. It's not a great team. They got smashed by Barcelona yesterday. Like, I don't. Like, it was the only environment, it seems, in which to get him into. And they had to make a lot of incentives for Getafe to take him at all. So it's not the best shop window. So I like nothing says to me that they're going to get huge money for him. But yes, he should have been much clearer on what that was. Dan Roan didn't push him, and I really wish he had done, because it would have been quite easy. By the way, did you see the video and did you listen to the audio? How do you feel about that? Because he might have had a very different reaction then.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Forest. Yeah, of course we should beat this lot. Of course we should. But I got to the point where I have no idea what Ten Hag is going to do with this team. Like, what is he going to rotate? We probably haven't got Casemiro because of the head injury. So it'll be Mainu, who's played a lot of games for a young player. Like, I don't want to tempt fate, but he's got to be close to the limit, physical limit.
I mean, what, one game a week?
I know, but he's gone from not injured to back in the team and playing every single week. It's just
although on the subject, also one of the things that I don't like about Ten Hag, and this is Ten Hag's issue as well, is why I feel like they should be making sure that Manu gets on the ball more than he does. And that feels like it's to do with routines and rotations as much as his anticipation.
Or automatisms. Automatisms. There you go. Yes. Well, we don't see that. And another issue there's a long list of reasons why Ten Hag shouldn't be the United manager. And the one that says he should be is that, well, he had a good record in the past. So
no,
he's good. And he did some good stuff.
Ridiculous injuries. It's massively shit. Repairing that takes time. And we shouldn't expect it to just be totally upward gradient all the way. Agree with all of that. But it shouldn't have been as shit as it has. And it shouldn't, 2 years in, look like it looked yesterday.
So what does he look like against Forest? Is he going to rotate? He's going to have to bring another midfielder in. So Scott McTominay's going to start, I imagine. Does your wish for Harry to get binned off?
I don't think he'll be Maguire. I do think he'll change the left back.
As he should. But then the question is, who? So Johnny Evans comes in for Maguire.
I don't think
Maguire starts. Maguire starts with Evans. Varane gets a rest. Dalot goes to left back. Who plays at right back? No idea. Kwambala could do it.
Kwambala probably. Yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, Kwambala. McTominay comes into midfield. Will he do something interesting with the forwards? I mean, Højlund won't be back, so he'll probably play Rashford down the middle again, even though it doesn't work for him, or Garnacho. Forson didn't do anything, so he probably won't start. So Anthony starts. Yeah. And Rashford down the middle and Garnacho on the left. Yeah, that looks like something like that is probably the team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Forest will be up for it because maybe the manager will rep players. That would be helpful because ultimately they have spent a shitload of money to go down, and they can't really have that. But it's like all the games we keep playing is if United play reasonably, they'll win, and if they don't, then they probably won't. And I don't know if it doesn't look good, it'll look dreadful. And if they win, it still probably won't look good. And we shouldn't
Mark Robbins for the win. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there.
The problem he has also, if they mention Mark Robbins, is he's not going to get to play Crystal Palace in the final probably, or Oldham in the semi-final. The teams left in the cup, most of the good teams are left. I'm hoping Liverpool play an extra time right now, are tired in midweek. But Chelsea is starting to get good. No, they're out. City knocked them out, didn't they? Most of the teams left are quite good, I think. So you're not.
Spurs are out. But City is still in it. Arsenal are out, right? So we've got Liverpool. Hopefully Liverpool get knocked out midweek. I forget who they're playing now.
Chelsea, Leeds. City obviously didn't beat them. They beat them in the other cup. Blackburn, Newcastle, Chelsea, Leeds, Forest United, Luton, Man City, Radiantic special there, Bournemouth, Leicester, and Coventry, Maidstone. So I think what we've got here is because what you've got the better teams, United, Chelsea, City, Newcastle, are all drawn against teams they should beat. But I mean, United obviously lose to Bournemouth or Leicester also. But it feels like the quarterfinals will be quite strong because it will be Chelsea, Newcastle, City, and then so could end up getting someone quite good then, and that.
So wait, there, are Liverpool out of the FA Cup? I forget. This is how much attention I've been paying. Apparently. All right.
Are Liverpool out of the FA Cup? No, they're home to Southampton, and Wolves are home to Brighton. They only read out 6 matches.
There we go.
There's enough in the cup so that you get into trouble if you don't. If you win this one, you can still quite easily come unstuck. It's not unlikely to be a Mark Robins moment. And I feel that the way I feel now, even winning the cup wouldn't be necessarily enough. If we don't qualify for the Champions League and we spend March and April playing really good, enterprising football and play the same way in every game and it looks good, then even if we don't win the cup, I would think about retaining Ten Hag. But if we see the football that we've seen, sometimes good, sometimes not, no apparent method that we stick to, and we win the cup, I still wouldn't keep Ten Hag.
And he's out of contract in 2025. So the keeping Ten Hag is really about giving me a new contract. Otherwise, you've got a lame duck for next season. And that's not really acceptable. All right. We'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us ramble on about that nonsense. United, come on. Give us something against Forest. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Please.